hear that Taiwan also in the winter now. So yeah, today a little bit of disclaimer. I'm not really a master of regional transitional justice context. I really appreciate my fellow friends from Ajar, specifically the regional team, to support me to talk today. So yeah, today we're going to a little bit seeing transitional justice in Asia. Ooh, such a big continent, yeah. And then the most important is the CSO, Civil Society Organization, role, and also in the situation of challenging impunity, because transitional justice happen is all because impunity. So I'm gonna start to talking a little bit about Ajar. So Ajar, or Asia Justice and Rights, we actually NGO who focus on build cultures based on accountability and justice. And we have our base in Jakarta in Indonesia, but we actually also have a lot of offices in Timor Leste, in Bangladesh, in Thailand as well. So what we do is actually combating impunity and build strong mechanism to achieve accountability, respect victims as a core centered of our work. But in our work, in Ajar work, we believe that inability to understand impunity is the reason that atrocities is still happening. So I really enjoy what Sam doing, presenting that really interesting, because uh, um, what the youth now is trying to find the meaning, like you said, yeah. But then we realize that meaning, it can be catch if we understand what is actually happening right now. And for us in Ajar, impunity is actually the root causes of what happened in Asia. So what is impunity? Let's talk about impunity a little bit. So I make this title, break up with this impunity. I'm bored because oh God, I'm so bored of this structural impunity that we see in the surface in our daily life right now. Maybe it's also similar in Taiwan, in Indonesia as well, that we see that uh, state criminalization, repression is actually we see as a iceberg. So this is like an iceberg. We now, specifically in Indonesia, we actually know that state is really become uh, really showing their power through the people. Because yeah, for Indonesia context, we now live in the authoritarianism. Thank you, Prabowo, we love you. No, of course not. So yeah, in the usual way, we know that the state atrocities or state uh, operation is actually in the surface. The criminalization of activists, of frontliners, or the frontliners is a tangible case of impunity. But then we also know that impunity has a impact, like what Ngurah Termana said before, that what happened in 1965 is actually have a cultural impact. So we also know that impunity is also have impact in the intangible way in the, or we can say in the cultural way. So it who is the actor is actually the public. They doing manipulator, they become an enabler, they also become a silencing of the truth, or also have the conflict interest. So we can see that this is the impunity that we understand before, that there's a tangible impunity but intangible impunity. But then for now the iceberg is there. I mean, we can see all in media, in social media, uh, that we cannot divide which one is actually a structural one or the cultural one of the impunity. Because what, it's also because of the facilitated by the media. In the social media, there's a lot of information inequality, economy inequality, gender and racism, and of course the public anger. So for now, the position in impunity is actually there. Like now we can see that a lot of we in Indonesia, we also talk about femicida, like the way that women being killed because they're a woman. So it's actually happened there, and media talking a lot about there. So yeah, this is what happened for now. What Ajar look for now about the impunity. Oh, by the way, this is also inspired by the Johan Galtung theory about cultural violence, and also the structural violence. But then we also see that it's not a cycle, but it's actually like intertwine the structural one and the cultural one. So that's the theoretical things, but actually, what is actually happen in Indonesia? What is impunity in Asia actually? So in Indonesia, we know in Ajar we see that never new order that never ended. So we never be in reformations, because yeah, for now we like Ngurah Termana said that Suharto become the hero for Indonesia most citizen, and we see that democracy is a space of consultation that includes who have money, big money, so they can win. So there are no people power, and there are, because of the perfect impunity. So this is a really really backlash for us. I'm still processing what happened actually, because it's really really hurt myself, even though I'm not a victim. So you can imagine how the victim and survivors family seeing or feeling that the Suharto become the hero in Indonesia. Also, lack of bureaucracy and corruption as well. It's the oil for impunity still going in Indonesia. Meanwhile, in Timor Leste, as a new nation, they still building the nations. But then uh, there are still uh, a lot of problem need to figure out, like the stolen children of Timor Leste. There's a lot of children that separate when the Indonesia invasion back then, 1975 until 1999, and also they also struggle with the reparation for victims and survivors after the conflict, because most of the program or the reparation program to heal or peace building program in Timor Leste is not really touching the victims or survivors group. Meanwhile, as we know, in Myanmar, the junta militer now ruling the country, and also we also know that historically they have the ethnic conflict, and it means that shrinking civic space still happening there. And also in Bangladesh, we know that situation of the refugees in Cox's Bazar camp. that we know that Myanmar context is really a focus in our region, specifically in ASEAN, but also a little bit about Bangladesh. And it's also and we also know in the August, like the wave of protest is also happened in Bangladesh. So yeah, like Murah Termana said before, that TJ is actually a tool can assist in developing and implementing effective strategy to deal with a history and mass violation. That's the theory, yeah, from UN. But I want to little bit talk about this. Like we know in the theoretical there are four pillar of traditional justice. The first is right to truth, the establishing of truthful account of human rights violation, and then the other one is right to justice, is holding those responsibility for mass crimes accountable through judicial proceeding, and also right to reparation, repairing the lives of victims and their families through symbolic and material measurements. And also the last is guarantee of non-repetition, reforming various